Yo, what's up, guys? This is the first episode of Talk and Write and stuff. Playing around with different kind of content to have on my page, book reviews, book hauls, and as I am a writer, author, all that good stuff. Why not talk about the things us writers do? I've been in the game for a long time now. I have 5 contracted novels with a legit writing company, publisher. Called Black Rose Writing. If I think about it, I'll put a link below so you guys can check out the website. I have distribution nationally, not internationally, but nationally. But I'm a small potato. I'm not trying to float my boat, but I have a lot to offer. And one of the questions I get from everybody, whether I'm at work selling books, because I work for a large bookstore chain, or in the writing groups, it's how do I get my book onto the shelves of a national book distribution company. Not book distribution company, I should say a book retail store, excuse me. I'm not going to cut any corners or sugarcoat any of this stuff. I'm going to give you the real honest answer. And it's not a quick answer. There's a lot of elements that go into this. So the first thing you have to realize and know about your own work is whether or not your book is listed as whole copy or non-returnable. This is probably the first step in understanding if your book is going to be accepted into a bookstore without too much hassle. If you do not know if your book is whole copy or non-refundable, you should probably look at your contract, because a contract should state whether or not it's going to be wholesale or whole volume or returnable. If you can't find that in your contract, contact whoever you have a contract with, the marketing team, the sales team, whoever it is, and just say, hey, I'm just curious. I'm trying to get my books into some local stores. Is this book, labeled whole volume or is it non-returnable? If they can't answer your question, you can call a store like Barnes & Noble's, have them look up the book, and just simply ask them, do you know whether or not that is considered a whole volume copy? And all they have to do is click on something on their screen and it will show them that answer. So why does this matter? Why does it matter if it's a whole volume or non-returnable? Well, I'm sure just as someone in this country, the term non-returnable is kind of a put-off, right? Like, you're stuck with it. You buy it, you cannot return it. That's exactly what this means. That means if I run my own bookstore and a local author comes in and says, hey, I have this book out and I'd like to sell it in your store, and I look in my system and I see that it's non-refundable, what that means is if I order 10 of those books, I am stuck with those books forever. If they never sell, I cannot refund them, I cannot send them back to the warehouse. My store is stuck with them. If it's whole volume, there's options I have as a seller that I'm not stuck with them to get some of my money back, all of my money back. It just depends. Right away, that's trick number 1. If it's whole volume, there's not much of a quote unquote what's the word I'm looking for? Risk involved. There's no risk, because if it doesn't sell, I'm just going to send it back to wherever I got it from. Now, if you do Kindle Direct, Lulu, or any of these self-published free programs out there, they're always non-refundable. They're always non-refundable. If you're like me and you have a smaller, medium-sized, kind of an independent press, those can be whole volume. So it just depends. So you really want to figure that out. So does that mean if I'm whole volume that these stores are automatically going to be like, oh yeah, definitely, we'll get your books in. Sure, why not? Not necessarily. There's really only a real answer to this question, and a lot of authors don't like to hear this, unfortunately. I know, because I'm on both sides. I'm an author, and I work in the book industry selling books from a retail standpoint. But the number one way to get your books in any store, whether or not you're print on demand or whole volume, is if you have a large number of people, an audience, so to speak, coming into these stores and requesting your book. Okay? If you are running a bookstore and you have 2 or 3 people a day for a week running, coming in looking for this book you've never heard of, you're going to stock it because there is a demand, right? So you're going to go to your supplier and say, give me 10 of these books so I don't have to special order all of these, and we can have them on the shelves to sell. That's like the nature of business. That is really the only surefire way. I use an example of David Goggins. If you don't know who that is, Google him real quick. He is a personal growth kind of author. His book, I forget the name of his book, but it's by David Goggins. He used, I believe, KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. So I'm talking completely free, right? Completely independent. He does not have a backing of a large publisher like Penguin or anybody. So he is considered non-returnable, right? But because he has such a strong social media presence and he's so popular that my bookstore started ordering his books 10 at a time, because we literally had to go out of our way to order those. It didn't just pop into our system. We said, there's a demand in our store for this book. We need to start stocking it because it's selling, right? He doesn't have a backer of any big publisher. He just did it himself, and he became like top 10 bestseller in our company, all this kinds of stuff. So that is the number one way to do it. It's hard, right? It's not easy to do, but if it was, then we would have nothing but, like a local independent published authored books in our store, because it's easy to print books. It's easy to write a book and get it out there in a larger opportunity to sell, but it's definitely harder to have people wanting to purchase it. It's kind of a wake-up call, right? I talk to a lot of people in my local area, and they all say, well, I want my book on the shelf. I'm not going to sell unless it's on the shelf. And that is so not true, because if I order 2 or 3 books in whatever company that I own and I put it up on a shelf somewhere, next to 10,000 other books, nobody even knows that book exists to go look for it, to pull it off the shelf. It's just the way it works, right? So it's really up to us as the author, and whatever way we do, grassroots campaigns, social media campaign, Facebook ads, Amazon ads, book bloggers, whatever it is to create that type of hype is the only way to really get your book into any bookstore. Walking in and saying, well, I'm local, blah, 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 like, you should be supporting me, that's not how this works. And in fact, it's a good way of maybe not getting your books in a store, is coming off entitled like that. It's an unfortunate but true thing in the business. It's these phone calls that are like, you need to stock my book, and it's just not the way to go about it. So that's the nitty gritty of it, okay? But breaking it down even further, if you are somebody that the bookstore recognizes, you support the bookstore, you buy your books at the bookstore, they know your face, they might know you by name, you hang out, you give them business, they're probably more along the lines to maybe take a risk and get your book in. You know what I mean? If they've never seen you before, you don't frequent their business, you're just another person to them, right? It's called networking. And I don't mean social networking online, I mean networking in person, right? You want them to promote you, but you should also be in their store giving them business. They know your name, they recognize your face. Whenever we recognize people like that, it's just the human nature to say, you know what, let's give this guy a chance. I know him, he's in the store a lot, she's in the store a lot, she's super nice, she's respectful. Let's give these people, 1 or 2 books in our store. That can happen. Doesn't always happen, but you have a better chance getting into that local bookstore you're at by being a part of their culture, being a part of their business. People drop off books all the time. We get books from the big companies that drop off advanced readers, so the store can read the books, to know about them, to sell them. You are your own advocate at this point. You don't have a company. So when you go into a store, ask for a manager and say, will you sell my book? I don't know. You got to do a little bit more than that, right? Because you're asking them to do you a favor. And so think about ways that you can bridge that gap, or you can stand out. Because you got to think, you could be the 4th person coming in that week asking to sell their local book. They can't do everybody. So how do you stand out? Now, I'm not saying that this is like a surefire way in, but You know, when I first started doing this writing, and I was trying to get my books into bookstores, you know, when I'd walk into a place I've never been, you know, I would bring in a box of donuts with a copy of my book and say, hey, guys, here's some goodies. Here's a copy of my book. Here's a card with my information on it. If you like this book, you know, and you want to sell it in your store, give it a try. All the information's there, or you can give me a call. I can drop some off. Here are some donuts. Enjoy them on the house. Just want to thank you for taking the time. Be appreciative. I'm not saying you have to buy your way in with donuts, but just think of other ways you can do things to stand out. I see it in person. I see it on social media, where like everyone wants to paint the stores as like some negative influence that aren't there to help local authors. And to be honest with you, it's really not the point of their business model, is to help local authors. Sure, I'm sure bookstores want to partner a bit, but you got to understand that you have to sell yourself before you sell a book. And there's a lot of people out there vouching for that little bit of space. You know what I mean? Again, find out if your whole volume, you got a better opportunity because there's no risk involved. If you are non-returnable, much harder. Much harder. The other way to do this too, I'll make this quick, we're going on to 11 minutes, is keep an eye on social media with these different types of bookstores. And if they have like a group local author signing, it's a great way to get in, prove that your book can sell with some marketing, right? So if you get in there, if you have a spot, you sell 20 copies, there's a good chance they'll order a couple to hold on themselves, because that's a really good sale. If you get 20 to 40, you're way above the trend. The average local author signing for these different areas, anywhere from 1 to 5 books. All right, and it takes time to set these things up. So you have to think, this company's in it to make money. They have to make sure that these book signings are worth their time and effort. So you're selling 20, 40 books in one of those group settings, you're going to stand out. There's a really good chance they'll order some of your books. There's a really good chance they'll call you back for your next book if they can get another 20 books sold, right? So use those as a way to get into the store and really prove your worth there. But outside of that, guys, seriously, it's talk to your community. Hey, guys, please go to the store, request the books. The more I get requests, the more we get orders and reservations, the better chances that I will be picked up in that specific store. And that's a specific store. That's not every store, right? So then you got to do the same thing with the city next to you in that big bookstore, etc., etc. I hope that answers some of the questions. If you have any more, please feel free to hit me up. My social media stuff should be plastered all over the place. I'm not a hard author to find. JL Hickey. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. I don't mind helping you guys out. If you have any questions on that, shoot me a DM. Yeah, it's hard, guys. It really is. It's not easy to do. But once you get to that point and you're able to get that type of community behind your works, your opportunities start to grow. So good luck on selling your books. We'll discuss more different aspects of writing. I really wanted to hit that one first because it's probably by far the most common question I get. And yeah, guys, awesome. Well, I appreciate your support. If you like what I had to say, please don't forget to subscribe. We are a small growing community, but I'm hoping to give out some really great content for you guys to stick around with. I have quite a bit of experience and opportunity in the field, so I love sharing my knowledge. I hope I didn't discourage anybody. Don't be discouraged. Discouragement is the root of failure, right? It's okay to, make mistakes and all that good stuff. Dust it off. Get back on it. Write. Follow your dreams. Follow your passions. That's the number one thing you can do. And anything you do in this life is never give up, right? I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out. A longer video closing in on 15 minutes. I apologize for that. Guys, appreciate you very much. Happy reading, happy writing, happy all that good stuff. All right, folks, until next time.